All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us Friday. Hope you all had a great time last night. So we're thrilled to have you here for our first ever education track, session 2. And this morning we're going to talk about one of what we think is one of the most exciting parts of education, which is really the transformation being driven by private companies that are helping to come in and bring in new technologies and new ways of doing things in the learning environment. So we're very lucky to have with us today Tony Abate from ECO360, who are going to talk about some really exciting things that they are doing, as well as John Stewart from Chegg, who leads DevOps there. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Tony Abate. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of ECO360. Just to give you a quick overview of what ECO360 is before we get into the great partnership we have with AWS and how we're effectively reinventing education with their help. The focus of ECO360 is to improve the learning moments, the engagement that occurs between student and student and student and teacher, not just in the classroom, but also before class, outside of class, and after class. I mean, that's basically the theme. How do we go about doing that? We do this kind of across the globe. We're in 30 countries currently, supporting about 2 million students today. We do this with a reinvent approach. We are not here trying to replace or disintermediate the institution or the teacher. We're actually partnering with them. And as you can tell, most schools do things in their own unique way, and even within institutions, they do things kind of discreetly tied to how the professor actually wants to deliver the pedagogical benefit. So we're building a platform to allow a lot of flexibility with respect to what the teacher does and what the student does. Again, huge industry, 1.5 trillion globally. We think it's an important industry that can benefit from the reinvention. We have not seen a huge change in education in quite some time, and we believe the application of technology can really do a lot of great things in that regard. What do we do specifically? We have an active learning platform. It's very flexible. You don't have to use every piece of it to get the benefit from it, but it has 4 major components. The first is we actually break down the barriers of time and space with respect to learning. We capture digital content. We make it available on almost any device that a student or teacher can have. You can be tethered to the system. You can be untethered to the system and still benefit from the solution. We also allow the professor to modify their behavior. They're no longer forced to be sages on the stage trying to push information into the brains of these kids. In this generation, most kids have the attention span of about 6 to 10 minutes. If you can't engage them in something interesting, they have a tendency to tune out, go to Facebook, or do other things. So what we really do is provide a lot of instructor tools to allow them to better engage the student in the classroom, from everything from flipping the classroom to polling during class, ways to keep the student active and therefore more likely to learn. We also provide a lot of tools for the students to make what used to be a very individual and solitary activity of learning. You know, think going into I used to go into the law library and find a Carol and bury myself in some engineering textbook. That's gone. What you can do is you can actually collaborate with your peers and learn as much from them as you can on your own, even when the professor is busy doing other things. So we create a platform to allow this interaction to happen irrespective of whether or not they're geographically co-located. And the final, and I think the most important thing, is we provide a lot of analytics back to the professor that they've never had before. So we can actually identify students at risk well before the first exam is actually proctored and graded. Because we know what the student's doing. We know what questions they're asking. We get them to tell us where they're confused and why. So we actually can provide a lot of very interesting information to allow a professor to act more tailored to a particular student's needs or to direct the student to other peers for kind of self-help and peer-to-peer based learning if the professor's too busy. So with that, what I'd like to do is kind of give you an example of this in a video. I think it's going to auto-start here. Do we have sound? We have music. Is this mic'd up? So I haven't played it yet because I'm waiting to switch from music to this. Apologies. Doesn't do much without the audio. It looks like it is, but I don't want to mess up with a good thing here. Yep. We can skip the video if this isn't a quick fix. Just picture's worth 1,000 words and a video is worth 1,000 pictures, but if you don't have audio, it's not going to do much of anything. Yep. You want me to advance it or wait? Play it. Let's try this one more time. Apologies. Yeah, there's no audio. We can skip it. I don't have enough time here. All right, let me just move on. I apologize. This is actually kind of highlighting kind of the key benefits of the solution in a much more eloquent way than I could do it. So let me talk to you basically about what it does kind of graphically. Again, what I said is this is for the teacher and the student. It's not just student facing. It's an integrated platform that allows you to do very interesting things before, during, and after class. Professors can flip the classroom. Students can engage on the content before the class. Students can actually ask professors before the class starts about the material they're going to discuss, so the instructor can tailor the conversation during the class as opposed to just giving the standard rote speech section after section after section. The students can engage with the content during class. Professors can poll students. Students can actually flag things as confusing. They can ask their peers questions about things. And then, of course, all of this, like this event here, is recorded so that after the class, either for student review if the student attended class, or if the student happens to miss a class for any reason, can't be in attendance. This is a big issue for community colleges where people have a day job as well as trying to go to class. You can review all of the material, you can review all of your notes after class, and you can continue to engage with your instructor and your peers after class. So a very integrated learning platform. Again, we talk about touching every learning moment in the process. It's not just about what happens in the classroom. We've been doing this for 7 years. We have a number of case studies highlighting the pedagogical benefit of the solution. These are just some of them here. I won't read them to you. Different use cases in each situation. It's not like everybody's applying the application in a monolithic way. We also have situations where people are doing blended learning, where some people are distant, some people are not. There's classroom overflow situations where people can take full advantage of the solution even when they can't physically make it into the primary classroom. This is great for state schools when they have capacity issues. So again, these are just some examples of what the product can do. Going forward, when we talk about this, we really like to compare this to other very valuable solutions, and I know we're going to have a conversation about Chegg trying to reduce the right-hand bar significantly, so I'll save that for the following presentation. But what's interesting is we've done a number of surveys with students who say that this is the most important technology they have for learning. It's more important to them than the LMS. It's more important to them, in this case, than the textbook. And then you compare that on a cost-to-value basis. In fully deployed the solution, including everything that the institution has to do to run it, not just our software, it's approximately $30 a student a year, covering every course the student takes during that period, right? And we know roughly in the United States that textbook costs are around $1,000 a year, unless, like me, you're an engineer and you pay a lot more, right? So how are we basically delivering the solution? Originally, this solution was designed as an enterprise solution deployed on campus. There are a number of schools that do that very, very well. It is a sophisticated solution that becomes mission critical. You can imagine the amount of content that can get created by this solution. We have some schools pushing 70, 80 terabytes of data captured in a year. A school actually produces more unique content than all of NBC does in a week if they actually go and record all of the teaching and learning that takes place at their institution. What we learned very quickly, even for the larger schools, some, but more importantly for the medium and smaller schools, or the community colleges where their IT infrastructure and their IT teams are very, very lean, it's very hard to deploy this in a highly reliable way on-prem. So we actually, with the help of AWS, decided to build what we'd call our Gen 3 active learning platform, and we decided to move all of it to the cloud. So what was an enterprise app, single tenant, single instance deployment on campus, for a highly reliable and highly scalable output is now something that we can do in the cloud. You can see roughly the architecture here. You can also see some, not all of the services from Amazon that we're using, and we'll talk a little bit about the specific services that we're deploying today. But what I can tell you is we could not have built this particular cloud-based application without AWS's help. It would also have costed quite a bit more had we done it on our own, and we have hosted our solution in the cloud previously as a single-tenant app. And we're really, really excited about all the positive things we get by this move. So again, the key services that we're using here are obviously Elastic Compute. We're using DynamoDB because the learner analytics is so voluminous, it's hard to do this in a relational database. Our legacy platform was on MS or MySQL. Great platform, but when you start generating all the click data from the students, you can get pretty big file sizes that you need to manipulate for understanding how student A is doing relative to student B. We're leveraging Amazon Cloud Search and the whole list here. So the benefit to the institution and the pedagogical benefit to the student is basically here. So what we've shown you is the enterprise solution costing about $30 per student per year when deployed on campus. With moving it to the cloud, with the ancillary storage and streaming costs, we can actually do it for less at scale. So we are actually saving approximately 30% by the move to the cloud. So the cloud is not more expensive, the cloud is actually less expensive. Why? Because of the elastic nature of all the services that Amazon provides, right? During the holiday break, you don't need a bunch of VMs standing there idle ready to process media, because there's no media to be processed, right? It's unlikely that students are hitting the streaming server during those periods. At the same time, during exam week, we can see the load on the system go up by a factor of 5, because everybody's reviewing the content over the past 14 weeks that's been recorded, right? So in an enterprise play, you either have to be very, very dynamic with your ability to spool up and spool down VMs, or you staff to peak. And when you staff to peak, you incur a much higher physical costs on infrastructure and operating costs. Other benefits besides cost is we've measured that the reliability is much higher. Now, some schools really run this system at a highly available state, but on average, we see downtime running in a couple of hours a month per school, usually not at peak periods, which is great. But when this system goes down, students call us, and we're not providing Tier 1 support to students. We're providing Tier 1 support to sysadmins. So this is a mission-critical app that the students desperately need. When you move it to the cloud, we believe that we can actually improve that almost 1,000-fold. These are kind of early measures. We believe we can get it even higher as we start to leverage a lot of the redundant elements of the AWS stack. In addition, scalability. We just talked about it briefly on the cost side, but we can really spool things up within minutes when we see load jump. 8 in the morning on the East Coast of the United States, we're not doing much media processing. When the first 8 o'clock class ends at about 8:50, there's a lot of demand on those media processors. We can spool them up probably 10 or 15 minutes before that known demand comes to us, so we're ready for it, so we can process the media and get it back out to the student within minutes. Disaster recovery. We are redundant not just with the data side of things, which we've always been, we're also redundant with respect to the app, thanks to all the availability zones and the tools that AWS provides. And then finally, on the support side, most schools, not all, most schools have kind of a business hour support posture. 9 to 5, 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. Students use this thing fairly heavily, and now more recently, professors start to use this very heavily on the weekends as they prep for their upcoming week. We're obviously providing a 7 by 24 by 365 support model for the infrastructure and the application. So a lot of benefits to the institution beyond just the cost one. I was going to show you another video, but I'm a little nervous that we're not going to get the audio working. So with that, what I'll do is just say thank you very much for your time. I also want to thank AWS for their incredible partnership. We did this in about 14 months. Couldn't have done it that fast or at all without their help, and we're really, really excited about leveraging this platform, not just to the 2 million students we support today, but the 200 million students globally in higher ed that we think would benefit from this solution. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tony. Nice job. Thank you, Tony. My name is John Stewart. I am the Director of DevOps at Chegg. I'm going to slide forward here real quick. If you were looking for the funny John Stewart, sorry, I'm not him. Fortunately, you're going to be here with me, talking a little bit about technology, how DevOps approaches delivering services for students, and the Chegg services that we offer. So at Chegg, we really put the student first. And Chegg offers a number of services to help the student out. First and foremost, we want to help them save money. Tony talked about it with textbooks. We do that. We allow them to rent books, keep their costs down. We allow students to get deals through a recent acquisition of Chegg deals and getting coupons. We look at ways to get them smarter. Acquisitions such as EDU that has brought on tutors and available for students to quickly get help with their problems. We have homework help, we have study, number of different services. Internships is actually just a deal that just closed for us to help students find internships, right? It's all about putting that student first. A couple data points here from Chegg's perspective and how we're putting the student first. So we saved students in 2013 about $450 million. That was through getting scholarships, that was through books, anything we could do to help the student save money. Next thing that we have is a partnership. We're looking to help put students and make the right fit for them with colleges. So students are able to identify the right colleges, colleges are able to find the right student for their university and college. And then, as I mentioned before, EDU brought on 7,000 new online tutors. So as a company, we're really focused on three key things. This is actually a picture of a sign that is on a stairwell that I walk by every single day. It's about saving time, saving money, and getting smarter, and that's what it is for the student, and that's what it is for us within DevOps and Chegg for our students. So when we think about delivering for our students, right, key things that come up for us in the cyclical nature of our services and the number of services that we provide students. We have to plan for scale, right? We don't know, we know for a fact certain times traffic increases dramatically. We know at other times different services peak at different times, and we want to be prepared and be able to handle that. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we manage our spend, because we have to keep our spend down. It's important to students. Then I also want to talk about how we work with our product teams to keep our costs down and ensure that the services are available and reliable for our students to access. And I want to talk a little bit about how DevOps is approaching this long term to even get more efficient use of the services that we leverage Amazon for. So some companies may be thinking about moving to the cloud and maybe a little bit concerned about moving there, got data centers in place. Chegg made the decision about 4 years ago to move away from a data center and into the cloud. And those were driven by a couple key factors. First, we had a technical refresh that had to be completed, which meant a significant capital investment. We had to move within the data center we had because we ran out of space. There was no elasticity there. And then we didn't have the reliability that we wanted. It was a single site, single location. So we decided Amazon was that place that would give us the ability to deploy quickly, allow us to scale, and ensure reliable services for our students. So scaling is one thing that is key to us at Chegg because of the key peak times of the year. Students come back from school after the summer vacation, want to rent their textbook for all their courses. So we have a significant traffic increase for a very short period of time while students rent textbooks. So as a team, as a company internally, we prepare for this in a couple key ways. First, the DevOps team sits down with the business leaders, with the technical teams, says, how do our applications perform? What key metrics should we use to scale? What should we be thinking about? And then we coordinate with them on the timing of that, right? When traffic's going to hit, put that together. We stress test our environment. One of the best things that we have with Amazon, the ability to build out quickly and reliably, is I can spin up a test environment in a matter of days, run those tests that I need to do, shut it all back down. We want to test again, it's already right there. All those instances that we stopped, we start back up, run our tests again, validate that we have the right capacity in place. We then, on a regular basis, scale up our environment based upon the demand of our services. So we sit down, we plan out for the week, maybe what we think the forecast is going to be. Prior to just before that traffic increase hits, we scale up. Amazon with elasticity and EC2, auto-scaling groups, using AMIs, we're able to quickly do that and deploy and scale up without affecting our service. We also know at times during the hour that peak times are coming in, we didn't prepare for, a new product or service is taking off more than we expected, we can quickly throw up new instances, handle that demand without any impact. Now, of course, we have to do this in a very fiscal way because it's important for us as a DevOps team to report back to our CFOs and CIO how much we're spending. And so, approach that I took when I recently joined Chegg, I've been here for just since the beginning of the year, I sat down with our Amazon team and said, inform me, train me, tell me more about the Amazon services, tell me how we can use them better, tell me how we can save money. And so we spent a lot of time going through how to get our eyes, how to use on-demand, how to use spot instances. Let's look at what we can do there. And then we turned around and said, we got a lot of great information there, there's a lot of data there. How do I get into that data, understand how our utilization is working? So we actually went and we met with a vendor at the Amazon conference in San Francisco, a company called Cloudability, that provided us even more insight into our data. We found underutilized resources that were going. We were able to shut those down. We were able to find and move instances around, get better efficient use of our instances that way. And we also looked at new technology. It was a time at which M3s were coming out, new instance types. So we started to move some of our services around. It increased our performance on the front end and reduced our cost overall. And we also planned for the long term. Something that we personally found is valuable is 1-year RIs provided us some value, 3-year RIs provided us value. We did a blend, even across instance types and across regions, based upon the plan to use those in year 2 and year 3. And so, again, reduced our cost down, ensured our reliability. One thing that I personally find is very important is the ability to collaborate with our product teams. As a technical team within DevOps, we are educated on the different services that are available through Amazon. We know what the costs are. So we engage with them quickly and early on the products and services that they're looking to build. We make sure that we're purposeful in how we use those resources. We can't just spin things up, leave them running, and then pay those hourly charges. We've got to be smart on that. We also look to give them a cost up front so they know what it costs to actually run products and services. And the last and probably one of the most important things that we get out of Amazon is our ability to experiment. We recently spun up a couple different products that we were going to try out, different technology we thought would help us out. We were able to put that up, test it, evaluate it, spin that back down, make a decision on what we wanted to do, and then move forward with the purchase. In fact, one thing that we found was that SQS was a perfect service for us to use for messaging, something that we would have been paying some other company in service for. Now we've got it available right here through Amazon Web Services. So quickly on kind of our results to date of this work of looking at our cost, managing our spend, we were actually have increased the efficiency and the use of the resources, higher CPU utilization across, better performance across. We're using a lot more Amazon services at a reduced rate than what we probably would have been paying for some of the third-party vendors. We were able to reduce our monthly spend by 1/4, which was significant for our CFOs and for our CFO and for our CIO. And ultimately what that results in is our ability to support more services, more offerings for our student. Again, it's about the student first, so we as a DevOps team want to ensure that we can help and make sure that those are available to our students. So the last thing I really want to talk about here is our long-term plan. So we know that we want to get the best and most efficient use of all the resources out there. We want to make sure that we have a highly reliable service. So we are actually going through a complete rebuild in a greenfield of how we are managing our infrastructure. And to do that, we're actually leveraging some open source technology. We're looking at Chef. We actually are using Chef. We're going to be rolling out a new product called Terraform that allows us to manage environments as a whole, Packer, other tools, Docker, that allow us as a small DevOps team to support a number of services quickly and easily. On top of that, we are going to work around collecting the data around our application performance and our infrastructure performance to make sure we're getting the best use of those instances of our resources in Amazon. We believe through this, we can drive down our costs, get better performance. With the announcement of containers and be able to use that, stack that on top of multiple instances, purchasing our eyes, we know we can bring that down. But we're going to let data drive that for us and evaluate that on a regular basis. Ultimately, what we want to be able to do is use Amazon Web Services and dynamically change underneath the application the instance type. Use Spot, use reserved instances, and use on-demand to get the best performance at the cheapest cost. And ultimately, what that's going to allow us to do is deliver more products and services, support, I should say, more products and services for our students and get them happy about what Chegg has to offer them. Again, saving time, saving them money, and getting them smarter. So I'll do a little shameless thing here and throw out a little bit of a plug for Chegg and what we're doing. We are working on some open source tools. We're putting out that roadmap in the next month or so. And so for those in the engineering team that are interested in learning more about what we are doing in the open source community, please check out our GitHub. If you want to hear more about DevOps and what our folks are doing, we actually did a spotlight on one of our engineers who's highly involved in Chef and other open source tools to make our configuration management system highly reliable. Thank you very much. Hope this was helpful for everybody. Have a great day.